The new chess lesson, we talk about the review of the opening. So, let's say we are playing a game and they're copying us. If black is copying us as white, you do realize that we have the advantage, right?
Yeah.
So that means it is actually okay for them to allow to copy us. They're fine, absolutely fine. Uh, then let's say we play d4 and then let's say they play c5. We don't expect c5. We expect them to continue developing, but this took us by surprise. We are taken by surprise. Think about whether or not you should take the pawn or simply develop or push the pawn forwards.
Pushing the pawn forward has no risks involved.
Uh, but there's no risk involved. Yes, but what else does it disallow? Do you see some ideas that black can do on the queen side?
Yeah, they can push their pawn forward, but I can unpass them. But if they move one space forward,
They cannot en passant the pawn because they try to push b5. And as we can see here, they're taking more queenside space, and
yeah, true.
they are preparing to fianchetto the bishop on uh, on b7, which will pressure our pawn. And it's a bit difficult
Oh,
for us to defend this pawn. If we let's say we try to go b3, do you see the problem with this?
if they take with the knight, no, sorry. If they move their knight, there's a discovered attack on the rook.
To where? To to where?
I mean, yeah, if they move their knight, then the bishop can take our rook.
For example, to e4, and if we try to block this attack, we this doesn't really work.
Yeah.
We literally lose a pawn for almost nothing. Well, the bishop did move, but they can move back, and yes, we have a center, but and yes, these pawns are a little bit extended, but I just don't see how we have a compensation for the pawn. So we should not push the pawn. Instead, yeah. The way to do it is when you see these extensions is to attack the pawn chain. A4. If you go a takes b4, you open up the rook. So b4.
Okay, fine.
Then you try your best to break open the chain. But it's not really good because this pawn is a bit overextended. Instead, we took the pawn. Rightly so. We rightly decide to take the pawn. And they go. They go. For example. D4. They go queen c7, which allows me to defend the pawn with b4. But why is moving the knight to like uh knight d5? Why is this a blunder? Yes, you have a discover attack. Why is it a blunder?
Blunder.
Uh, look at the pawn on c2, and just let the rook fall, and see what happens to that bishop.
The bishop.
Let's say they try to use the discover attack. Uh,
Yeah.
sometimes you need to make sure you get your pieces out. So how do you punish this?
Push the pawn forward one space.
C pawn move one space. You mean this, right?
Yes, yes.
This doesn't really work. You lose a pawn for nearly nothing. Like you give back your pawn for I don't know why you gave it back. Instead, what happens? What if you take the knight? What if you take the knight?
Oh. Now, what does that do? That does nothing.
You took the knight. They take the rook.
Hmm.
But this is actually bad. Do you know why?
Why?
Do you see the bishop has one diagonal to go? How do you take advantage of this? You know there's something called trapping pieces where they do not have anywhere to go without having to to either go or they get taken by another piece.
I see no pieces of trust.
How do you manage to trap the bishop?
I mean, push the pawn forward again. C pawn one space.
C3. Yes. Then in the game they try A5. In the game I played B5, trying to push it forwards. So
Then what?
basically then they play B6 and B7 and then we went here and
I see.
B takes C5. B takes C5. Okay, we are now at the end. However, you do realize that we should not let ourselves daydream at this end. Why do you think so?
I will be reading. Hold on. How do you continue this position now?
We can't daydream and just play passively. Too passively.
Yeah, I see.
Do you see why?
No.
Think what happens if you allow black activity with their pieces.
Yeah, there are no rooks, so the back rank is highly unprotected.
Not back rank, but if you allow black's pieces to have a lot of activity, if you allow black to have a lot of space, and you don't try to take advantage, what happens?
I mean, I lose the game.
Then we will lose the advantage. For example, we play something like King H1, and then you allow this. Now suddenly this is a bit of an issue. This bishop is getting closer to be able to get out. And just look at the engine evaluation. It's still winning, but damn. But you don't want to risk this, do you? So
No.
instead I played bishop a3, which is a natural move, but do you see why it's a bit inaccurate?
We have a3.
Bishop to a3, targeting the c5 pawn. Why you do realize why it's a bit inaccurate?
Yeah, he can push the pawn again.
Yeah. So and this bishop is a bit if I gotta be honest. Also, a big part of the
But
advantage.
if he move the pawn again, I can take the pawn on e7.
E7 pawn, but he defends with d6.
Oh,
You can't
yeah.
take the e7 pawn.
Mm-hmm.
And in a unperfect world, this queen could get trapped. So we need to be careful. Of course, the engine finds out, oh, rook here, we move, and then we do this, and then this. But you are in a game, you may not necessarily find these kinds of moves, especially when you think that, oh, we have to consolidate. We need to get them to win, so this is why we have to be more careful. Anyways, this is a very, very decent win, and we can show that I played rook c1 to defend the pawn.
Wasn't the pawn already defended though?
Yeah, so why do that? Instead, you should just grab the bishop, which is
Yeah.
just simply the practical stuff is that you get a better material advantage because even if you have to give some back, you do it. But why do you move it there? You may get overconfident and accidentally let out this bishop. So we have the opening review. We have our plans, the king side castling plan. We just
Bro blundered. Yeah.
bro blundered. Just take it. Just if you can't find a just take it, bro. It's free material. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
If they sack the material, then they gotta be the ones who can compensate for it. Let's look at just this game. This one is a bit terrible. This is a terrible game. They play bishop to b5, and we use a development edge. Why do you think it is for like the e5?
Hold on 1 second. Yeah. Now. What?
For example, c3, it kicks out the knight, and they go knight f3.
Yeah, I mean, why push the knight there in the first place? Our black knight that just
It
loses
is to
one move.
attack the b5 and to gain some initiative.
I see.
The other way is a6. And if you do this, we have a bishop pair and we're equal without even trying. And at this point, we should just we can either settle for a draw or we can fight for the win. We can fight for the win by using the bishop pair and the open d file, or we can settle for a draw, like, you know.
Yeah.
It depends on your appetite for risk. But what do you think of f5, this move?
F5.
Yes, like a king's
So-
gambit. King's gambit.
Yeah, I know. I have not studied any gambits. I don't know. Hold on. If I put, they are free to take that pawn, but I don't know the continuation of the gambit. So that pawn is hanging in fury. I play my knight after that one.
f5, they take the pawn,
Right.
and then where?
F5 to take F1, 2, 3, 4. F5, yeah, to take the pawn, and then I play my knight F3. Yeah.
f6. f6. And
Oh yeah, we're playing black. Sorry, yeah.
and you see at least two threats what we are doing, right?
No, I see. I don't see that far.
You know when the e pawn takes the f pawn, do you know what square it loses control of? The central square it
Light
loses.
squares.
You mean this d5 square? Basically, it helps
Yeah.
us achieve d7 d5 easily. So after this,
Alright.
he is too scared. He played d5. Yes, we get the center. But do you see how this is a bit of a? Do you think who do you think is better here actually?
Black pieces, they are more free.
Even though we are down a pawn.
Yeah, I mean, black has more activity on the board as of now. They control more squares.
However, number one, we are down a pawn. Number two, do you see the king safety? The king safety. Look at
Oh, the king cannot wrestle.
our king versus their king.
I see.
So
But
actually,
where does that lead us?
try to get them to exploit. What if the queen moves to pressure the center?
The queen can only move one square in this case. How is that useful? Oh yeah, it can pressure the pawn.
If you push this isn't really a threat. We can do this like they just play d3 and they pressure our damn center. So this is quite risky, if I gotta be honest. But at your level, I don't think they'll find it. And at mine, he doesn't seem to be able to find it, so. Against.
Oh, lol. I see.
It's your appetite for risk. Chess were not perfect. You're playing against a human, not a machine. This is another
But
principle.
he didn't pin the pawn first, so it's not a threat. If he had pinned the pawn at first, then
Yeah, he decided to just castle. This was one of his mistakes, and he enabled me to just storm forwards.
Yeah, I see.
And basically, what he is doing is justifying my setup. I take the center, and now I can just bash his pawns like this. Like, this is so bad.
Bro, made a mistakes. I see. I do the same thing sometimes. I see.
You're just justifying the setup. Then
I literally do the same thing sometimes. Okay.
What do you think of this taking the pawn?
I lose material. If he takes with the bishop, I take with my bishop. He takes with his queen.
Do you know why this is not necessarily a great move, in my opinion?
Why? What if he?
Do you see?
Oh yeah, if I don't take and he takes in the next move, then I can take with my pawn again and then the bishop.
Also, look at your king. Look at your king. Do you see a pattern between the position?
Open file, yeah.
Yes, you're literally opening the position when your king is stuck in the center. Like, a thing here is they play here and this, which is a bit annoying, this pin. And then they play this and they play this and they play this, and suddenly they're not even that bad. And besides, our king is a bit airy. Our king is a little bit airy, if I gotta be honest. Even though we're still better, but there is a reason why they tell us to move the queen here. Is we are preparing bishop g5, which will force the queen to move, or they play f3, but this is extremely weakening. They're going to weaken their own king, and we get the castle queen side. So yeah, they take the pawn, and obviously we take back. They play queen e2, and we castles. This, yeah, we move the king to b8 to get out of we safeguard the king from any pins of the queen and things like that. And now this position is extremely equal. While before, actually I was in quite a bit of pressure. If he found this, I'll be in quite a bit of pressure because you can clearly see this idea. you may say that, oh, the knight is in the knight on the rim is dim, but this knight is protecting this f5 pawn, and is
You can't take it.
blocking our development. It's quite bad, gonna be honest. So the key thing is, if you play stuff like f5 like this, it's risky. You gotta have a decent reason as black to do it. Number two is that against these surprises, do not think that long. Simply come to your plan of attack the bishop or just a6 try to trade it off. It's fine. And we are here. We are easy at d6. We're still yeah,
black has a better position in this case.
why is taking the bishop not bad? What do you think of sacrifice?
Because if they take back with their pawn, I can take the rook again.
Yeah, and it basically allows them to have that fire, which is not very good. And besides, this bishop is stuck defending this pawn. Our bishop is better.
Yeah.
So if we play c6 and they kind of attack them, we can simply take, and then just look at this. Look at this queen. They can take all the pawns we want. We come here, and just look at this. Just look at this madness.
But why would they take the bishop?
We are threatening mate in one.
Oh, I see.
We are threatening mate in one, so they literally have to take the bishop.
I'm stupid. Yeah.
So another key principle is we are more developed than them. We should look. We have this knight here. We have bishop active. We should not be afraid of sacrificing pawns in order to blast open the position, especially like
I
that.
see.
If they take this pawn, like they take, and as we can see, this is a very position, but instead
I see.
I blundered this.
Oh, yeah, you're not an engine though, yeah.
Yeah, I literally blundered this, bro. So as we can see, we're not engines. I was afraid that I would sacrifice the B pawn, but actually, the D pawn is more important than the B pawn. Because now without the D pawn, you basically have an unopposed center. This is not good.
Yeah, no center.
Instead, you should sacrifice the. It's often okay to sacrifice your B pawn. So this is why, for example, in Evans Gambit, you sacrifice the B pawn. In exchange, you get this. This. Queen to D7.
And to protect the check, I see.
Why Queen D7? Like, it's a bit off topic, but why Queen D7? And like, you're trying to defend when you're up material. Why Queen? Just before we go, why Queen D7 and not Queen E7? Why? Both
I mean,
defend.
the queen is protected now if there are any attacks on it.
Do you see
it's
the
also
C3 and D4 idea? And do you see the knight on C6?
Knight on C6. C6, yeah.
Do you see what the pawn can do in the future?
So it can push forward.
Yes,
but,
literally. The problem is that they don't have this.
I have to go back.
Yes. This is absolutely terrible. That's
Oh,
yes,
oh, I see, I see.
this is absolutely terrible. So this is why the so this is why you need to be careful to give your pieces retreat squares, especially when you're up Tyrael. Why do you not take the pawn? Why do you play d6?
Why do I not take the pawn? Hold on, which one?
The d4 pawn. Why do you not take it?
It's protected. Oh, yeah, it's protected.
What if we you do realize that even if they take, it's not protected because your a5 bishop pins to the king, but then they simply castle. And do you see how even if you can survive taking the pawn, do you see why human players prefer d6?
Open center.
Do you see the pieces? Do you see the bishop on c4? Do you see the kings? Do you know what parts what how to evaluate a position? The five key things from most important to least important.
No.
The most important in order to checkmate, which is the goal of chess, is the king. So the king safety is most important. But you need materials to.
Oh, I can just castle. Yeah.
Let's say we take. I don't care. We simply castle out of there. Oh, no, not exactly. You do this to force this, and then you castle. Then you have this. Then, if you take this pawn, this is very dangerous. You cannot allow this. You cannot allow them to have so much development. Because if you go here, now suddenly they go here. This is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. Just look at how much development they have. Sometimes, so in reality, sometimes the safer option is to give back the material.
I see.
Yes, and one last thing. Let's say you have blundered the piece. Do you know how to make the most out of the situation?
Resign, yeah. My mentality cannot take a blunder once I see it.
Do you see why we move the rook, the F rook, and not the A rook?
Yeah, I mean, they can't now. They can't take the rooks now.
Also, how do you see the E3 pawn?
E3, A, B, C.
Do you see how the D4 pawn is in front of it?
Yeah.
Think of a plan to exploit the fact that this pawn is on the, E3.
Oh, just move my what's the C7 pawn 2 steps ahead. C7 to C5.
But they simply take. Instead, what about the rook? Can you blockade the pawn?
Oh, but what purpose does that serve?
Rook f3, rook e4. But actually, this is not a very good plan because they simply they simply move back, and I have to go back.
Yeah, it does nothing. That's the thing.
It does nothing, but it's in the future, just in case.
I mean, if they take back the knight,
yeah,
move is useless.
Instead, you move here, and you go here, and you kick the pawn away, and you try your damn best to expand. This is the only way you're ever getting drawing chances, but you need to keep the pawn backwards. If you can't do this, you need to get the open files and hang on for a draw. I'm
okay.
The engine is indecisive. It thinks that if anybody is going to win, it's white. In my opinion, this is not winning for white with perfect play, but I would definitely be.
Oh, it is winning for white with perfect play. Five of our pawns are still in their starting positions.
With perfect play as black, you're drawing this. But as a
So yeah,
human,
yeah.
obviously I'm going to be white. This is absolutely much more pleasant, if I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah.
And now let's say they go e6 and then we go e4. We go to e4. Now your c5 idea is much better. Because the d4 pawn lost its protection. Dang.
Oh.
A big part of this is that it's with check, and
But
so
what if they just push that pawn again?
then we can blockade it, or not blockade it, but just move back, because they're threatening. Because here, on the seventh rank, these rooks are so active. They can munch off the pawns, and we cannot blockade the pawns. The pawn is already blockaded from moving forwards with the bishop, and so what you have to do is defend and hang on for dear life. This.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, then Dama go sleep. I need sleep.
Also, if they push the pawn, if they push, you say they push the pawn, but do you see how there's an advantage for you? Like some other positional advantages for you?
I mean, I pushed up my pawn again. The c5 pawn 1 space second.
Do you see Do you see now that the d pawn cannot stop the c pawn? Do you see how there are two pawns on the versus your versus your pawns?
Oh.
This is called a queenside majority. We have a queenside majority. This is the source of our counterplay. Our bishop, even though 4 of the 5 pawns is playing a very good defensive role, holding off the king from coming here, and also blockading the pawn, which is partially why we do not trade pieces. This knight, on the other hand, do you see why it's quite useless? It's not very useful compared to this bishop. Yeah, there's a reason why we have the drawing chances. So yeah, he blundered, and besides, yeah, do you see why taking the rook is not really that good?
They can take back.
What else? What else do you see if you move do something else? For example, look at the d5 pawn, and also look at the pin.
I still see nothing.
The
I
d5.
mean, me personally, I would just take the rook. I do not care. I would just take the rook.
If d5 moves, can d5 move? Why or why not? Like, how can we attack this pawn?
By pushing our c6 pawn more to c7 pawn to c6.
Correct. And if they take it,
Open
they
file.
basically open file. And this is and just look at our rook to the 7th rank.
But hold on, if they do take the pawn, we can just defend. Yeah, we can defend.
You can even do this, and then take back if you really want. And just look at the engine evaluation. Rightly so, because these pawns are going to fall. And
and the rook is also pinned there.
Okay, so basically, first of all, you do realize that white needs a turn to get out the pin.
White. Yeah, I mean they need to move the king first, so one useless move.
Yes, this means the rook can always be taken. You might as well
Yeah.
make a move that improves your position so that you get closer to your victory. But in a
True.
bullet game, just take the rook.
No time to think.
Correct. So we've learned these strategies that if it is there, just leave it and improve your position. In a bullet game, if you're in doubt, don't do it because of time. Also, we learned various things like 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 dealing with opening surprises, thinking of ways like after your blunder to to do to do the best to your position, and you do not uh go go here obviously because we are threatening a whole piece, and if they take, obviously the queen is gone. So this is even better. Simply just trade down to a big win, but do not trade down the pawns because a piece against a lone king will still a draw. So this is what we've learned. We've also learned that sometimes it's good to take the risks, but it depends on the rating of your opponent. You have learned the positional things in the mid game and also part of the end game, and it's the psychology. The psychology wise is that, oh my god, I'm not going to take a rook, man. It's a free rook anyways. I'm just going to laugh at your position. That's what it's going to say. Last but not least, the time management. Uh, do not spend 21 seconds thinking surprise. Just play a move that you think is good. This doesn't really threaten that much. There's nothing critical about it. Uh, and uh, and also
No, so
play something decent. For example, d5, and if they take, you take back with the queen. This is a common thing in the Ponziani. And now we're actually better. And we're even threatening a fork. Technically they can do this, but then honestly we're pretty comfortable, if I gotta be honest. You know? We're pretty comfortable. So
nowadays I can't take anymore.
yeah. So we learned that now we should take the initiative. Risky plays should be kept to a minimum, especially high-rated players. As we should not justify our opponent's setups. We need to look at their plans first, and even if you blunder something, you need to keep fighting on, trying to take advantage of weaknesses in the position. Eventually, they may collapse and you may win, or even if you lose this game, they take a lot of effort in a tournament, you may eventually win the others. Watch out for the tempo moves that come with check because they're quite important, and other things like that. But anyways, just look at the knight moves just in case if you're low on time. This is the last thing I'd like to say. Knight moves, because otherwise you can get forked like this, especially in the time pressure because you're human. So if there's any questions, ask me. If not, gotta go. What's our rating? My rating is uh 2000 something. Just look. My rating is over 2000 in both rapid and classical, and even puzzles as well. Yeah, my bullet and blitz are a little bit crappy, but at least I'm over 2000 in lichess, and it's not bad really. So yeah, what do you think of the Christmas party in the server? We'll have a Christmas party, and they say get some soft drinks, tobacco, cigarettes. Like, well, of course we don't encourage vices, but you do you. We are a free chess community, a free society. Framism is not built on authoritarianism. It's built on freedom, and it's built against the nanny state. Uh, we can see no problem. So yeah. If you have any questions, tell me. If not, do, there's nothing to talk that much about. So all clear. So I'm going to end the stream now. So see ya.